do that before I forget. Excellent. Well, before I start screen sharing, I just want to say hello, good evening, welcome. Thank you so much for being here and joining us virtually today. My name is Amy Brodsky, and I'm the IB Diploma Program Coordinator here at Shaver Heights High School. And I'm going to go ahead and share my screen. And well, actually, before I share my screen, I want to introduce a few other people who are here with us this evening. And then there will be a few joining throughout for different sections. So I'd like to first introduce Ms. Miriam Neal, who is our amazing support for the IB Diploma Program. And is going to be helping to capture names and questions of people who are here today. And then we have an awesome panelist of students who I'm going to have introduce themselves and will be sharing at different points throughout our presentation and available for Q&A at the end. So if you guys could mic on for a moment and introduce yourselves, that'd be great.
Hi, I'm Sonali Khatri.
I'm Allison Shelley.
Hi, I'm Andrew Loney.
Hi, I'm Mia.
And I'm Ty Borchard-Isaacs.
And so these are 5 of our seniors who are currently in the program who are here to share about their experience throughout and take your questions at the end. And then we are also joined by Dr. Keith Soleil, who is waving there at the top, and he is one of our German teachers and also one of our TOK or Theory of Knowledge teachers. So, hello, Dr. Soleil, thanks for being here. And he's going to be sharing, and then we will be joined, I don't see them yet, by Mr. John Grady and Dr. Chuck Kelly will be joining us a little bit later in the conversation as well. So thank you all for being here. I'm going to share and we will get started. Okay, if someone's able to give me a thumbs up that you can see my screen, and perfect, awesome, thank you so much. So again, welcome to our presentation tonight. We'll spend about the next hour and a half together learning about everything you would ever want to know about the IB Diploma Program. And I will be posting towards the end of the presentation also a Google form for you to share your contact information and also any additional questions that you may have when we're done and after our Q&A, as well as a link to a folder of resources. And these will be posted on the website tomorrow as well. So I invite you to take a minute and read IB's mission statement. You can read it in your head, you can read it out loud to the folks in your room. I know we have a mixture of parents and of students here. And I invite you to add into the chat thinking about one word that you see from this mission statement that reflects why you or why your child may be interested in the program. Love it. There's some overlap from some people and some new ideas. Again, feel free to keep adding in. To me, the section of the IB mission statement that has always stood out the most, I've been working with the IB for about 12 years now, is that last sentence. So I can't pick a word, but that last phrase, the understand that other people with their differences can also be right. That's always just very much resonated with me and something that's drawn me to the programs from elementary through high school, and that makes me excited about not only working in it, but having my daughter start as a preschooler in the program this year and will be an IB student for the however, 14 years. So very exciting. So thank you for sharing that, and keep those words in mind, because hopefully you will see those things that you are looking for presented throughout this evening in what I share with you and what our students and teachers share with you as well. So for those who may be new to the experience of the diploma program or new to the experience of IB in general, the IB, really all of the programs, but I'll speak specifically tonight about the diploma program or the DP, are centered around these 4 big I's, right? So there's this idea of inquiry. Inquiry is the structure and method of learning that we use in IB classes. It is, while there are times that lecture and note-taking is appropriate, that's not the focus of how IB classes are taught, right? It's hands-on, it's thinking, it's discussion, it's debate, it's asking questions and seeking answers. And it defines that inquiry-based approach. That second I is for integration. And in the diploma program, it's really significant that the curriculum is designed to have connections from one class to another, to have connections from the theory of knowledge class into the content areas, and for teachers to make purposeful use of those connections and for kids to make meaning of those connections throughout class. The third I is that idea of international mindedness, right? IB is an international program. And so the sources we use in our classes, the texts we use, the topics we study have global significance, right? Yes, there's details that we learn along the way, but they're grounded in the big ideas that should really have that global significance. And then that last I is for inclusion. The program is really intended to be accessible to all those who are interested and who want to participate. We very much accommodate a diverse set of learners from all backgrounds and from all levels of readiness. And really the important aspect is that it's something, if you have a strong work ethic and you are interested in learning in this way, then you can and will be successful in the program. So our program, if you see the quote there, start where you are, but don't stay there. Right? We really have a growth model in the diploma program here. You do not have to be a genius to be in the program. You certainly can be, and you'll also be successful, but you do not have to be a genius to be successful in the program. Our teachers really have a great, strong approach at meeting everybody where they are and making sure that everybody has opportunity to grow and opportunity to learn from each other. And so we really encourage anybody that shows interest and has a curiosity and a commitment to yourself as a learner to give the diploma program classes a try. So I'm showing you here on the screen sort of the overview of the program in general, and we're going to take apart each of these elements tonight in what we talk through, and have a section dedicated to each of these elements. And so the first thing that we will go over is just what courses look like in the IB. What do classes look like? What are your choices in classes? How can schedules look? So we'll go through that. And then we'll talk too about what's referred to as TOK, or Theory of Knowledge, which is really a hallmark class of the program and something that makes IB sort of stand out from other academic, one of the things that makes it stand out from other academic programs. And Dr. Zaleh will be sharing about the Theory of Knowledge class. The third piece is the extended essay, and I see Dr. Kelly has joined us and is going to be sharing with us as well about the extended essay. And then the fourth piece is called CAS, which stands for Creativity, Activity, and Service. And the students and I will be sharing about the CAS experience and how that helps sort of balance the academics in an IB program. So I want to look first at the IB courses. So if you decide, or if your student, I know we have a mix of students and parents here in the room. So if you decide to enroll in the DP, there are some requirements around the classes that you'll end up taking. So what will happen is in February, when you go ahead and do scheduling with your counselor, if you're interested in the diploma program, I then become a part of that discussion with you and your counselor. And what we do is we look at mapping out a 2-year course of study, because the diploma program is a commitment over both junior and senior year. And so together, the team of us will help you map out your courses to make sure that you have the correct balance, that you have the classes that you're interested in, but that you're also meeting the IB requirements. And so to meet the requirements, you'll have to take one class from each of the 6 subject groups, which I'll show you next. And of those 6 classes, 3 will be what are called HL classes, or taught at the higher level. These are courses that require more time and a little bit more in-depth content, and they are taught over 2 years, right? So if you're taking HL English literature, then it is a 2-year course that you take both junior and senior year. And then you'll choose 3 courses at the standard level. And you'll see on the next slide when I show you the course selection choices that some of our SL or standard level courses are taught over 2 years, and some are taught over 1, which then if you take some 1-year SL courses, it allows you additional openings in your schedule to take elective courses, whether it's additional diploma program courses or elective courses at the high school that are not part of the diploma program. And so your course load will be balanced across all subjects. It will also, be sure to be in line with state of Ohio requirements and Shaker graduation requirements to make sure you've met, all of your graduation needs. Each course has a series of assessments, which we'll take a look at. And then, like I mentioned, you do have room for electives in your schedule. And then your 7th diploma program course will be taking theory of knowledge. So the way the theory of knowledge course is structured right now, and I believe will be the case going forward, but we never know with schedule changes in the school, is that as a junior, you take theory of knowledge co-listed with government throughout the year. And then as a senior, theory of knowledge is a 1-semester course, so both taught during the day. If you have older siblings or older children that have gone through the program, the 2nd year had been an evening course in the past, and it now is incorporated into the day. So you can see the DP course listings. So as of right now, these are our course offerings. I don't anticipate seeing a change to any of these for next school year, but these are the courses that are offered right now. So you can see that in just about every subject, there are lots of options that students can take, different mixtures of HL and SL courses, different topics, different content, and you would choose one from each of the first 5 course subjects, 1 from language and literature, 1 from language acquisition, 1 from individuals and societies, 1 from science, and 1 from math. And then you can choose your 6th course as an arts course, or you can choose an additional course in one of the other 5 areas. Okay, so if your student is not a arts-minded person but wants to take both economics and history, great. You can, as I mentioned, each of the courses has different assessments. And this is an area, the assessment of IB courses is something that I see as one of the particular differences between AP courses, advanced placement courses, and IB. We all tend to have a little bit more familiarity or knowledge around AP and how at the end of the class, end of the course, you take an exam at the end. In IB, there are exams at the end. They're called papers. But in addition to the exams at the end, there are multiple exams. So there might be one on one morning and one on the next day afternoon. The 2 different ways for students to show their understanding in the course. In addition, in all of the courses, students have what are called the internal assessments, or the IAs. And these are more project-based, more writing-based, more research-based assessments that the students experience in each of their classes. And they're done throughout the year at different times over a period of several weeks. And it gives students, again, just multiple ways to show their understanding instead of just everything riding on one test at the end of the course. So it's just something unique about the program. So you can see some sample schedules. I'll leave it up on the screen for a second. The risk taker, what they might take. We often hear a narrative that floats around that is a common misunderstanding that IB is not for a science-oriented kid. IB can be very much for a science-oriented kid, and you can see an example of a schedule here that if your student is very science or STEM-oriented, of how they can be a part of the diploma program and really thrive in the sciences and build a strong transcript for college. Or the artist. Here's a sample schedule for the artist in our lives. And then what if you don't know? Stop pressuring me. I don't know what I want to be. I don't know what I want. This is something that I love about the IB because you are required to take these courses across all 6 subject groups. Somebody who very rightfully going into junior year just has no idea what they want to focus on, gets to experience the high level rigor of this coursework. in every single one of their subjects. And so it gives you a chance to sort of elevate your work all throughout, and leave it open to what you learn in class to help you make those decisions going into college of what you might want to focus on down the road. So I'm going to stop sharing my screen for a moment because I'd love at this point if our students could chime in and share with us what does your schedule look like? What classes are you taking? And it may be that, don't forget about classes that you may have taken last year. And I'd love for you to share both your diploma program and any other electives that you're taking outside of the DP.
Sure. Okay, I can start. So as Ms. Brodsky mentioned, I have classes from all 5 core subjects. So I've been taking English for the past 2 years, and I take Latin as my foreign language plus Greek on the side. And I've been in history HL as well. And this year the course focuses on both European and Asian history, which is super fascinating. With respect to science, I'm not super into chemistry, so I actually bypassed that and just studied enviro and physics, which was more in tune with what I'm hoping to study later on. And then of course, math and TOK to round out my course schedule.
Thanks, Mia. Andrew?
Hi. Just like me, obviously take English at HL and Latin for the past 2 years. Junior year, I took psych, and I also take chemistry for my junior and senior year, and then math, SL for junior and senior year. Also had band on my schedule junior year, dropped it senior year because of a trip, sadly. And I think that's it. Yeah.
All right, thanks, Andrew.
Like Mia and Andrew, I am also a Latin student, and I took English as an HL, and then I did math as an SL, which is one of those courses that goes over 2 years. And then this year I'm also taking Enviro as an SL and Psych as an SL, in addition to Econ as an HL.
Thanks, Allison.
Mine's more on like the artist track. So my HL, one of my favorite HLs is art. Also, I'm taking English, and although math has never been like something I've been naturally good at, I decided to take it as an HL, and it's turned out to be one of my favorite classes. Mia's in my class, she knows how it is. It's just everyone supports each other, and that's what I really like about it. And for SL, I took it last year. Eurasia, which is what Mia talked about. Chemistry, I've been taking junior year, and I'm taking it now. And I took French SL last year.
Thanks, Sonali.
And then for me, I went for generally in my schedule more of a lean toward humanities. So I'm taking HL, Eurasia, and economics, as well as the standard HL English. But last year I started with SL, or I guess technically HL World. So you could start with World or Euro, and then the classes combine if you're on the HL track into Eurasia. And then I was able to fit into my schedule for both years band, which I have thankfully been able to do consistently.
Great. Thanks, Ty. Thanks all of you for sharing what your schedule looks like. I'm going to go back to sharing here so that you can see what the process looks like when you sit down, or when your student would sit down with us in February with the counselor, and we would go through and use this course planner to look at the 2 years of the program. And some of it is cut off at the bottom, but it does in the folder of resources, which I'll link at the end, you can see the entire planner. So you can see all of the options. And we do make sure that we plan out from the beginning of junior year so that you know which courses you're taking each year. Certainly there are situations where schedule changes happen, and they might happen in the summer before, they might happen midway through the program, and we accommodate those as best as possible. But having a plan mapped out ahead is useful. So I'm going to go ahead and turn this over now to Dr. Zaleh, who is going to share with us about TOK, and just give me a nod or a bump when you want me to change the slide for you.
Okay, I'll make sure that you know. Can you hear me okay?
Yep.
Okay, and can you see me too?
We can see you.
Okay, that's in no way required. In fact, I don't think it adds anything to the presentation. I just wondered if people could see me or not. So I am Dr. Zalay. I'm super excited to be here to talk about theory of knowledge tonight. And I'm going to tell you right off the bat, the first thing that I'm going to say to you, and I've been a teacher for a long time, and I've taught several different subjects. And if I was going to teach one course to every student in the school, if I was going to advocate to say that every student should be doing one course, it would be theory of knowledge. In fact, I would even go so far as to say that it would be great for every student in the country to take theory of knowledge, if not everyone in the world. And the reason is because the skills that you learn in theory of knowledge are so important today. Theory of knowledge is all about one question: how do we know? And that's the question that we come back to all the time. How do we know? Because when you live in the world, you are constantly bumping into knowledge claims. And in an IB framework, we recognize that there are really 5 areas of knowledge in the world. There are the history, the arts, human sciences, natural sciences, math. Arguably the 6th area is things I learned on TikTok, like Balloons Day. But this isn't embraced by IB in any kind of way. So we have those 5, and they're constantly generating knowledge, formally and informally. So these are called knowledge claims, and we're bumping into them all the time. But people don't necessarily know how to evaluate those knowledge claims. In other words, they very often hear something and they'll accept it or they won't accept it. And TOK asks you to think critically about that information as it comes to you. It asks you to understand knowledge as a theory, to understand every knowledge claim as something that is constructed, that has biases behind it, that has a cultural layer on it, and that you are bringing your own perspectives to in order to really try to understand it. I'll tell you a little bit about what practically the structure of the course is going to look like. And that is for your junior year, students will take TOK every single day, or depending on what the schedule looks like, every single day. And then it's combined with government. And you can see that this is a natural mixture, just from probably the understanding that you have right now. This is a really natural crossover as government deals with a lot of issues of social power and dynamics, but also a lot of current issues can be argued, debated, discussed, and looked at through the lens of critical thinking, through the lenses of multiple perspectives and biases in that course. And then in your 2nd year, so the senior year of the DP program, TOK is really unfettered. And it gives us the opportunity to explore those 5 areas of knowledge and to look at how knowledge is created in each of those areas and how to evaluate it. And Ms. Brodsky, if you'll flip to the next slide. IB gives us a set of tools to kind of go through to make those evaluations. And it says things like challenge the basis of the knowledge. Well, there's a lot on here you can read, but I just want to highlight a couple of them. And the first is the second one: evaluate subjective biases. Some people say biases, which actually I think is right, but I learned biases, and assumptions. And also to compare methods, scopes, values, and knowledge in the areas of the subjects. And finally, number 5 here, appreciate multiple perspectives. And if we're thoughtful, we can also see how this, the heart of the TOK course, lines up with the kind of knowers that IB wants to create. The idea that we can think critically, but we can acknowledge multiple perspectives. In other words, we don't have to push for one single correct answer, but we can look at the answers and analyze how they were created and what's working and maybe not working with each of them. And if you'll flip one more time. This will be, I think, a little bit helpful to sort of clarify what this looks like in the real world. And that's what we might come across a knowledge claim. And here's one that you might hear: vaccines are coming, but pandemic experts expect a horrible winter. And there's really 2 ways of thinking in the world. And we can thank Daniel Kahneman for this. And we're talking about it in class right now. Shout out to the TOK guys. And it's system 1 and system 2 thinking. And that means that some people are going to read this statement and they're going to react immediately to it. They're either going to believe it or they are not going to believe it. And this is system 1 thinking. This is intuitive thinking, or what you might call your gut reaction. And this is the way a lot of people make all the decisions in their life. This is how they absolutely decide to believe something or not believing, just by their initial reaction to it. And then there's another level of thinking that's called system 2 thinking, where if we come across a claim like this, we're going to have a reaction to it. Everybody does. But we're also going to be aware And we're going to look at this from different angles, and we're going to try to understand and evaluate this knowledge before we make a decision about it. And I told you about those areas of knowledge. Well, they provide us lenses to look at a sentence like this. So where it says vaccines are coming, but the pandemic experts expect a horrible winter. If you looked at it mathematically, you could say, what is the quality of the mathematical models being used to make this claim? We're not accepting it, we're exploring it. Or if you want to look at this from a human sciences perspective, we're going to say how and who decides the priority of the vaccine distribution. And this ties into the tools that we use of measuring knowledge, such as ethics. And we could look at this historically, and there's an example on here, how might historians interpret widely conflicting perspectives. We can also reflect on historical events with similar events and to give us a context for this. And I won't take you through all of the bubbles of it there, but I think you can see the process that happens, where we no longer take knowledge for granted, and we no longer rely on gut reactions. Instead, we recognize what a knowledge claim is when it comes to us. And we have developed a set of critical thinking skills so that we can explore that knowledge claim. And doing that really can help us understand multiple perspectives in the world, understand the biases that might be influencing the knowledge that we are receiving, and recognize the biases and cultural influences that we are bringing to those knowledge claims as well. So, like I said, I think it is incredibly important for people, everyone, but for young people today to learn to think this way. And if you'll go one more slide. I got a audio, it was actually a podcast, I was gonna say book, it was a podcast on how to try to read quotes like the guy who does the movie trailers. Full spoilers, it didn't work. But I'm going to read these quotes to you anyway, because I think they're really important. The power of TOK is to awaken students to multiple perspectives. Consistently, TOK was described as developing learners who don't judge others and who critically evaluate evidence before forming opinions. The TOK experience was described as enabling students to question and challenge the world around them while being comfortable with disagreement, and to discuss divergent views as opposed to dismissing or avoiding disagreements. So I hope that these ideas resonate with you, both as parents and students, as critical skills that will help you be the best knower that you can be in the future. Thank you.
And if that wasn't enough of a sell of the program, I mean, just the idea of having Dr. Zaleh as your TOK teacher, I mean, I'm ready to sign up and come to class tomorrow. But I'm going to stop screen sharing for a moment here, because it's one thing to hear the awesome words that he shared about the program and how transformative the class can be. But I'd love to invite our students to share about their experience that they've had in TOK and just give us a little bit of your insight into the class as well.
Okay, I can go first again. So I really appreciate TOK because, like Dr. Zaleh said, it's really informs the way that I approach knowledge about the world and how my perspective has just broadened a lot, hearing what my peers have to say about things. And also segueing off of that, I think just being able to interact with my classmates who are so tight-knit a community, like Sonali's in that class and we have a great time every morning, first period, but it's really just such a supportive group. And I think like interacting with them makes learning all the more powerful because we're doing it together.
Thanks, Mia. Anybody else want to share about their TOK experience?
Part of what I really like about TOK is the discussions we have in class, because there's like no right answer. Like we bring up a topic and there have been times where we've talked about something for like half an hour and there's no penalty to that. There's no like push like, oh my God, we have other things to do. And that's really nice. And it's really interesting to hear other people's perspectives. And there have been some pretty intense debates, but they're always entertaining and you always learn a lot.
Thanks, Allison. Anybody else?
Just like basically everyone says so far, like it's a different type of class setting because it's not like you're just in the math class and like certain people just continue to answer different like questions. Like you hear everyone's voice that you wouldn't really hear like any other class. And like you just, my thing with it is like it's a great chance to like bond with other students. Like mine is all the work, just like it's a great place to bond. And then the work isn't stressful. It's kind of like a relaxed class. There are a few essays here and there, but it's fine. But it's just a very, and this is discussion based, which is very fun to me.
Great.
As for my experience, TOK has become one of my favorite classes, especially this year. Being in person, having all these conversations in person, because I feel like everyone's a little bit more open and you never really know where the conversation is going to take you. And I just learned so much from even like the most random comments from my classmates, but somehow it all connects to whatever topic we're talking about that day. And also I find myself connecting what I learn in class out of class, like catching myself when I'm not listening to other perspectives or just someone too quick. And even the other day, we were doing an art critique in my art class, and we had this whole conversation about perspectives and interpretation. So I just think it's like very applicable, and it's one of my favorite classes.
Thanks, Denali.
And obviously, just sort of echoing what everyone else has already said, it's definitely it's a great discussion class. You have really interesting conversations. I feel like it's sort of like Sonali said, it's really interdisciplinary to that extent. Like in my economics class, we've had TOK questions come up, and that is part of the assignment is you have to answer a TOK question about economics. And I feel like I've had mornings where we talked about something in TOK and I went to English and I was able to apply that to what we were talking about in English. So I feel like it's, like everyone said, it's really just a useful thing to have. It's a great skill, and it's really fun to just sort of talk to other people and you know, pick everyone's brains about their ideas and their beliefs, that kind of stuff, you know.
Fantastic endorsements. Thank you guys all for sharing. We're going to switch gears from TOK to highlight the next element of the Diploma Program Core, which is the extended essay. And we have Mr. John Grady and Dr. Chuck Kelly, who are our extended essay supervisors, here with us tonight as well to share about the EE experience. And after they share, I'm going to ask the students to, so be ready, guys, to share what your topic is for your extended essay and how the process has gone for you. So Mr. Grady and Dr. Kelly, I'm going to invite you guys up, and I'll share the screen so people can see the slides again. Right.
So hi, everyone. I hope you can hear me clearly. I'm Chuck Kelly. I'm the extended essay coordinator, along with Mr. John Grady, who's the other extended essay coordinator. Extended essay is a research project paper that the students begin to work on during their junior year in IB. John and I go into the TOK 11 class, and we get the ball rolling in September of their junior year. It's a 4,000 word essay, which amounts to approximately 14 pages. It's done in conjunction with a high school supervising faculty member that the students choose. And it is a topic based on a research question that the students choose, but also one which aligns with a subject area that's part of the IB diploma program. There are many subject areas. They range from literature and history and economics and maths and sciences to dance, visual arts, theater, literature, and performance. So there's a wide variety of subject areas that the students can base their topic in. And so the students go on this year-long process of working with their supervisor, developing a research question into an essay, so that the essay is basically the answer to this research question. And John and I go into the TOK class and we give the students tasks which we hope will bolster their progress throughout their junior year and into their senior year. And the way that the process tends to work is, for example, we started introducing this year's juniors in September to the notion of the extended essay, what's involved. And today we happen to go into the TOK 11 class, and the students are to the point now where they're refining their research questions, honing a topic, narrowing it down, and they're on the verge of seeking a faculty member to become their supervisor. And the faculty member then will work with them until the draft of the essay is due next September, the first draft, and the final draft is due a year from February for this year's juniors. So this year's seniors, those who are with us tonight, they've done their first draft. They've received it back, hopefully from their supervisor with feedback. And now they have until the end of January to do a second draft. And that second draft is the draft that goes to IB, to the examiner, to be scored for the essay. So that's basically, it's a research project that the students undertake outside of their normal classes and curriculum. And in fact, they wouldn't be able to do the extended essay as, for example, a continuation of something they've already been evaluated on. It has to be an independent research project that's its own topic, to be related to something they've covered or they've pursued before, but it can't be an extension of something. So the IB program wants it to be its own independent project. And I'll introduce Mr. Grady, Mr. John Grady, and then John, you can add whatever you like here.
Sure. Hi, I'm John Grady. I'm helping Dr. Kelly as co-coordinator with the extended essay. The only thing, you know what? We have a question in the chat pertaining to the extended essay. Can students share some of their extended essay topics? Yes, it's actually our next slide.
Yeah,
Fret not. That will be coming up. We can already head there. So students can really write on whatever they would like. I mean, it's bound by the extended essay guide to a degree, but that really covers everything you could think of. So here's a couple sample essay titles, which gives you an idea of what the essay is about. So our first one is, to what extent did the creation of the Algerian national soccer team foster a strong sense of national unity and lead to national independence from 1954 to 1962? I don't know, but I'm sure that student answered that question thoroughly. Our next one, which is going to be global politics, is how has police brutality against African-American citizens through the lens of stereotype threat sparked the Black Lives Matter movement as a result of the country's exposure to racial bias? So a lot of times these essays can actually be very contemporary. So we see just that contrast between the global politics essay and the history essay, that it could be something that's happened recently, it could be something that happened very long ago. And then our final one, literature, more my wheelhouse as an English teacher. To what extent do Mary Shelley and Jane Austen's novels, Frankenstein and Pride and Prejudice, defy early 19th century propriety and the expectation of women to uphold the mannerisms of the proper lady? So we can see just from those sample titles, it's a range of subjects. Our juniors are coming up with really interesting things right now. I know I bumped into a student who's thinking about the flight or fight response with psychology and police brutality as well. So it could be very contemporary, could be something from the past. It's really up to the student. But yeah, I'd love to hear what the students have to say too, unless Dr. Kelly wants to add something.
Yeah, just one thing too, just so you know, the students are also asked to work with their supervisors on this essay over the summer between junior and senior year. We like them to come back with the draft when they begin their senior year. So, Mr. Grady and I are around the entire summer as well to be of whatever help we can be during that time period. And now if the students, when you share your topics, if you could also share the subject area in which your topic fits, it would be very interesting to hear.
Yeah, and just to, Miriam just shared some in the chat. I just want to say real quick, of course, the hard sciences are included as well. So if you're going to do chemistry or biology, there'll be a laboratory component. It won't really be a lab report when you write it, but you do write for the discipline that your essay is going to be about. So don't think if you're a hard sciences person that there isn't a route that would be really engaging for you.
All right, students, share. Let's hear your topics and subject and how the process has gone for you, or is going.
I can start us off. So my extended essay is a history essay evaluating the significance of the Perry expedition of 1853 in ending Japan's isolation in the late 1800s. And overall, I've had a really good experience working with my supervisor. It was very much, my whole experience working with her was feeling like we were she was giving me advice, but she wasn't telling me, oh, this is wrong. Like, you're not doing this right. Like, there's a right way of doing this. All of the advice she gave was really helpful. And it was still very much like my essay. I didn't feel like I had somebody coming in and saying, well, here's everything that you have to fix and change to make this right. And the freedom of picking a topic that I was interested in really made it bearable to write a 4,000 word essay. And that was one of the things that I was most worried about going into it. But when you have a topic you're interested in and you're working with a good supervisor, it's really like, I found it to be an enjoyable process personally.
Thanks.
Well, my paper was focused on, well, it was under the subject area of film, and it explored the effectiveness of the Bechdel test, which is a really simple metric of female representation in films. And it's basically three simple rules. Are there two women? Are they both named? And do they talk about something other than a man? So then I evaluated two films, Ocean's 8 and Ocean's 11, compared them, see which rules they broke, why, and if it's actually an effective tool. And overall, I really liked doing a film paper because I hadn't like taken a film class, but I was interested in the art. I wanted to do something I was actually gonna like writing about. I had already written a history paper. That was like my second choice, so I just wanted to do something different. So I chose film, and I just loved how in control I was. I came up with my own schedule. I came up with like all the content, and my supervisor, Miss Wasserman, just guided me because she knew all the film stuff, and she told me like maybe or something like that. And I was like, oh, I never thought about that. But overall, it was really fun for me because I was actually interested in it, and it went by pretty fast, actually.
Thanks. Anybody else want to share?
I can share. So my extended essay falls into the language and literature category. It's a literary analysis of Walt Whitman's Leaves of Grass, which is free verse poetry. And I chose 3 specific poems that demonstrate how individualism and collectivism inform the American dream. And it's been a super enjoyable process. Dr. Kelly's actually my advisor, and I think because I'm so passionate about the topic that I chose, it doesn't feel like an assignment. It's just like settling into some sort of catharsis from my other schoolwork. And Dr. Kelly has been like the most helpful person throughout it all.
Awesome.
So,
So I'm somewhat different.
Oh, I think we got you both at the same time here. Andrew, go ahead.
So my EE falls under the biology subject area. So basically, with like during the time like quarantine and all that, like I was thinking about like how COVID spreads throughout the school and everything with the new like COVID protocols. So basically, I just researched the growth of bacteria throughout the school with like the new and
Did he freeze for others too, or just me? Okay, Andrew, you appear to have frozen, so I'm gonna take it to Ty for a minute. If you come back, awesome. Go ahead, Ty.
okay, so for my EE, I did global politics. I was actually sort of throwing it back to TOK for a second. I was actually sort of inspired by junior year TOK to choose this topic. And I ended up landing on essentially looking at media's role in the January 6th Capitol riots, which is an obviously contentious event in recent history. And it's been a really interesting experience working with my advisor, Miss Owens, who is our gov teacher, and working through, how do you not offend people when you write certain things, and how do you make sure you're staying unbiased as much as you can, and while still, being objective in what you're talking about. So it's been a really interesting experience, and I think really helpful to that extent.
Great. Thank you guys all for sharing. I hope that you all here tonight are as compelled as I am, not only about the complexity and depth of the topics that they are studying, but also hearing how, because it's something you're so passionate about, it doesn't even feel like work, or it's something that is like a break from the other aspects of school. In addition to, as Ty mentioned, like learning some of the writing and research skills that are going to be incredibly useful moving on into college and into career beyond, and just how to look at topics and how to express ourselves around topics. Dr. Kelly, did you have something else? I saw you unmuted. So.
Oh, no, but the one thing that impresses me as I'm hearing the students talk is I always feel that the most valuable part of the IB program is the kind of cohort spirit that it foments, and the fact that we're all sitting here interested in their topics, and I'm like all excited to hear their other topics again, how they've done with them. That's kind of the spirit of the IB program that I think and that's what we hope it continues to kind of foment this sense of cohort among students. I think that's a really valuable component, and we're already hearing it here tonight.
Great, and thank you for pointing that out. And it's something that's been a challenge in the program over the last year and a half, with being here and not here and online, and not being able to gather in the same way, but it is most definitely the spirit of the program. So thank you for that reminder. We're gonna switch to our next content area for the sake of keeping everything moving here. And we're gonna come back to the students in just a minute for them to share again. But that last sort of core component that we talked about in the beginning is an area called CAS. It stands for Creativity, Activity, and Service. And a lot of people ask when they look at the course load that IB students take on and the types of content that they're studying is there life outside of school, right? Is there life outside of classes? And not only is there definitely life outside of classes, and our outstanding scholars are going to share what they do in just a minute to keep themselves whole and sane and balanced. But it is a required aspect of the program itself is to help develop the whole student, the whole child to find that balance in life is to participate in CAS. And so the requirement is approximately, we don't count hours specifically, but approximately 150 hours over the 2 years of the program of engagement in activities outside of class that relate to one of the areas of creativity, activity, and service. And so the idea is for students to have a balance across those three things. Activity can be playing on a sports team, right? That gives you a lot of hours in activity. Creativity can be participation in theater, right? It can be participation in marching band, in shows and in concerts. Right? And service, is more traditional to understand what it means, but doing things in service of others and helpful in our community. And so there's an infinite number of ways that students can be involved in CAS activities and can develop life outside of school. And so you can see some examples that I'll scroll through in the next couple of slides while our students are getting themselves ready to share. And what are you involved in outside of school? So I'd like to be able to share with our parents and student participants here of what does life look like in the world of CAS for you? What kinds of things have you done? And potentially even share your CAS project. So in addition to those 150 hours, or as a part of those 150 hours of CAS throughout the 2 years of the program, students are also asked to participate in a CAS project. And this is something that is ideally collaborative among a group of students and is something that is sustained. So instead of just that they take initiative on and that is sustained over a period of a month or more. And so I'm going to stop sharing so we can see your beautiful faces and share with us a little bit about what life looks like outside of class for you in the world of CAS.
So one of the main sources of hours for me for CAS is playing piano. I've been playing since elementary school, and so just incorporating it into CAS wasn't like hard to do. It was already there for me, and it encouraged me to practice more, even because I was just like, oh, well, I need some more hours. But then I started doing it for fun too, and I gained a better appreciation for it. And then I'm involved in SCORE, Student Group of Race Relations, which I really love, which is just hour and a half meetings once a week where we just start brainstorming ideas for what we're going to do when we go into elementary school classrooms, where we have discussions about race and other issues that surround that. And also, I'm involved in Youth Ending Hunger, where we do like trips to the food bank and other little things like baking cookies for doctors on the COVID unit. So I like CAS because I didn't really have to be like, oh, I need to sign up for 6 other clubs. It was sort of like encouraging me to do more, but and be more involved. But I already had a lot that I was already doing that I could use for CAS.
Thanks.
And for me, I was taking more of a musical lean. So I, for the past 2 years, was in the Contemporary Youth Orchestra, which gave us some amazing experiences through that. Got to play with sticks, some other stuff like that. I joined a percussion ensemble at CIM, as well as ended up getting involved as a volunteer down at the USS Cod. And I feel like that's the thing about CAS for me, that it sort of led me down all of these paths that I was not expecting, but definitely appreciative that I've had these experiences, and I feel like are and have been really useful for me.
Thanks. Anybody else want to share?
I mean, part of what, again, kind of what Sonali and Ty touched on is that like it really, you can take things that you like already do or things that you're interested in trying and you kind of have an excuse to do them. Like for example, summer of 2020, it was really hard to get out and do things. So I took that as an experience to go and say, okay, like what can I do to get out of my house and still be safe? And I ended up going on a lot of hikes with my dogs. And that was a great way of getting activity hours. And it was something that I really enjoyed and something that I really needed at the time. But it's simple things like that where, there's no like specific, like it has to fit like all of these requirements for it to count as hours. It just has to be something that you go and you do, and it's either creativity, activity, or service.
Yeah, building off of my peers, I think that CAS was a great opportunity to continue to explore my pre-existing interests while also defining new ones. So for activity, I run cross country, and that was kind of a clear setup for that component of CAS. But then for service, I volunteered with Story Forum, which is a nonprofit initiator that helps younger kids learn how to write creatively, which I thought was just a wonderful opportunity. And then for creativity, my friends and I went camping alone last summer in Hocking Hills, and it was just like an absolutely transformative experience in both positive and negative connotations, and we made scrapbooks afterwards, and it was just a pivotal coming of age moment.
Great, thank you. And it looks like we may have lost Andrew again for a minute, having a little bit of computer issues. So thank you guys for sharing about your CAS experience. And there's been a few questions in the chat as well that people can take a look at. So it isn't a specific credit that is earned for CAS. It is a requirement of the program, and when students apply isn't the right word, but when they get to the point of taking the exams and are earning their diploma, we sign off as a school on each individual student that they've completed what they need to in terms of CAS, that they've met the requirements of the program, and that's factored in towards the points towards earning the diploma. And like Mrs. Neal shared, and thank you for sharing that in the chat, that it gives an area for counselors to also focus on in college recommendation letters, just because of the nature of the types of activities that students are doing, the collaborative nature and the leadership development that and that service, right, that colleges like to see. Which actually segues us really nicely into our last sections. We have one more section to share and to talk about, and then we'll open it up to questions to questions from you to any of us who are here tonight to share. And this last section is around, well, so what does this do for me, right? What do I get as being a part of the diploma program? What does this do for me? So in addition to a lifetime of fulfillment and satisfaction, which of course it will lead you to, but there's more. Colleges look really favorably on the IB diploma program. It's an internationally known program, so particularly if you're applying to schools outside of the country, but universities know it, and universities see full diploma program students as top candidates towards their schools. They see these students right away, whether earning the diploma or not, because you don't find out if you earn the diploma until way past the college admissions process, and so, until July after your senior year. But colleges see this and favor students who took the initiative to take these courses, who are learning in this way and who are involved in activities like CAS, who have been involved in writing these extensive research projects, who are thinkers like the thinkers that they're developed in the TOK class, because they know that you're going to bring these attributes to their universities and continue this type of learning and this type of leadership within their universities. And so having the diploma program courses on your transcript can often give a leg up in the college admissions process. It can lead to scholarship opportunities, right? And there are some universities who will grant sophomore status to students who come in having earned the full diploma. And it can give you advanced standing in credits in a similar way of the AP program. So if by earning certain qualifying scores on the exams of each course, students can enter into college with different credits. And obviously, just like AP student, different universities handle that differently. Every university has their own AP and IB credit policy that we can look at to see, how does certain scores on the exams translate into credits earned in college. But in addition to those credits earned, there is research out there that really shows how well students who go through the diploma program not only are favored in the admissions process, but also how well they persist once in school. And so in the link of the folder that I will share with you in a few minutes when we wrap up, I've included several research briefs from the IB and from institutions outside the IB that look at this research specifically. So I won't go into all of the details of it in this presentation, but you can look yourself at how the program does help in the university admissions and persistence process. But here's a few examples of just some top rated universities and what historically the application rate has looked like for students who are not diploma program students versus students who are, and the difference, right, the diff, if you will, of what the IB experience will provide for candidates in getting into these universities. You can see it's in some a pretty significant advantage for college entry. And then also to share just from a few universities specifically, as you can see here at the University of Chicago, a note in their policy that you may receive up to a year's worth of credit in a given HL subject if you score a 6 or a 7. So testing out of a full year of coursework. And then in looking right in our own backyard at Kent State University, which has one of the more favorable IB policies and works in partnership with the IB on a lot of things. And how they rate the course equivalency of the university classes and what you can sort of test out of by scoring. And that 5, 6, or 7 is out of a scale of 7. So IB exams are scored on a scale up to 7. So what now, right? What is the process for you now as you're sitting and listening and wondering, is this right for your student? So we'll go over a few details and logistics. So the few things to know, there are costs to the program because it is for taking the exams at the end. Again, similar to if you were taking advanced placement courses, the courses do have assessment fees that are paid to cover the cost of scoring, and that's on IB's end, not on Shaker's end. So we facilitate the payments, but the cost is to IB. So each course costs $125. That is subject to change nominally from year to year, depending on how IB changes their fees. And so that would lead to a total of $750 over the 2 years. The payment we collect here and then send to IB, and it's all done through your Payschools account. and we collect payment in October because that's when it is due to IB in the year that you're testing. So if you're taking as a junior a 1-year standard level course, then you test at the end of junior year. If you're taking a 2-year standard level course or any of the HL courses, you test at the end of senior year. So the majority of students all students take the majority of their tests at the end of senior year, but some students will take 1 or 2 tests at the end of junior year. And of course, financial aid is available and provided for families with documented needs. So we can definitely work with you on plans for that. And then time elapses and we make our way to February. So between now and February, we will have a few more of these sessions. You are welcome to continue to attend any of them. Please know that there'll be relative repeats to what you're hearing tonight. As far as the information will be the same. The student panel may be somewhat different because we like to hear that you guys are phenomenal and I'd love if you came back, but it's also nice to hear a variety of voices, especially for parents and families that come back multiple times. But we have 3 additional evening sessions, 1 at the end of January and 2 at the beginning of February, and to be determined if they will be in person or virtual. And then we will have a student-only session after school. I believe February 9th is the date. And that's a little bit less formal. It's less a presentation and more an opportunity for prospective students to sit in small groups with current students and ask questions and learn about the program really from the student perspective. So there are several opportunities to attend. And then in February, when the counselors begin the scheduling process with students, again, any student who shares that they are interested in pursuing the diploma program, then I come into the process and will be involved with the student and their counselor in their scheduling out their DP plan for the next 2 years. So what I'd like to do, I'm going to go ahead and stop sharing and invite questions for me, for our teachers who are here, hopefully mostly questions for our students to be able to share. And feel free to put them in the chat and or unmute. Actually, let's stick with putting them in the chat for a minute because I think that will be a little less hectic if you can do that. So I see the first question came in. If the panel could tell us what motivated them to join IB.
For me, it was mainly what my experience with AP was like. It wasn't bad, but personally, it didn't match with my learning style, and I wanted to see what else was out there that still had like a rigorous coursework and just would be a challenge, but also doable. And also coming to this presentation when I was looking to see what choice I would make really convinced me as well, because I saw that it was very customizable and I didn't really know like for college what I wanted to do or anything like that. But I knew with IB I could customize the classes with my interests, and that might help me like figure out what I wanted to do.
Part of my deciding factor was similar to Sonali. I also, IB fits much more with my learning style than AP does. But I also have an older sister who went through the diploma program and she had a really good experience with it. And she was like, Allison, you got to do this. And she had nothing but good things to say. And her friends all said the same thing. And yeah, so.
I joined IB definitely for the cohort. I think that I learned best collaboratively, so having that smaller, more intimate class setting was just the main selling point.
And for me, I feel like, and probably noticing a pattern like Allison and Sonali, I think my experience was definitely that, you know, as much as I think I could do well in AP, and if you enjoy AP, more power to you, I was looking for something that was more fitted to what I wanted to, you know, specialize in, more, I feel like, discussion based, more focused on writing. And I refrain from using the word intellectual, but like to that extent, I feel like, especially like through TOK and stuff like that, um, much deeper into those sort of subjects. It's not necessarily just about learning the facts, but also why are we learning the facts and why are the facts that we're learning important, you know?
Like Mia said, like the cohort that you just like you're stuck with for like the next 2 years is very beneficial, like to me. Also talking to like seniors my sophomore year, like they just had very good things to say about IB. So that was just basically why I joined.
Great. Thank you, guys. I want to address two things. First, I'm putting into the chat because I understand that some people may need to leave at different times. So I wanted to share two things. First, the first link is a folder of resources that has just a lot of documents that go over some of the things that we did talk through tonight. And in addition, some of the research around the program. Again, this will all be posted on our website tomorrow, but I wanted to share it with you here. And then also I encourage everybody that's here to click on the Google form. It is very, very brief, but it'll just help us collect information about who was here tonight and also give you a direct link to share any questions that you may still have that I can see and be able to respond to right away. The first question that came up, I think, is one geared towards me. It says, can a student with an IEP do the IB program, and how do you accommodate? Absolutely. We have several students, both on IEPs and 504 plans, who are current students in the program. The accommodation in class is no different than it would be in any other class. Teachers have access to what the needs and accommodations are written in the IEP, and those accommodations are given, whether it's extra time for assignments, extended time on tests, small group settings, preferential seating, working towards goals. We have several students who are in the DP classes and also in their small group iLab. So it absolutely can work. And then as far as accommodations for the tests themselves, we submit students' IEP information to IB in the year that they're testing or years that they're testing. And as long as we can show evidence of the need, which is never a problem, those same accommodations that students are given on testing in school are granted by IB. And so we make those arrangements for the exams they sit for. And then I think that next question there maybe goes to Ty, because I think you're the one that kind of brought it up, but anybody can answer. Can you specify what is the quote learning style of an AP student versus that of an IB student? So I'd love for you to share. And also certainly if any of our teachers who are here as well can share from experience what they notice.
Yeah, I'd love to answer that. And obviously this is just my opinion. From my experience, especially, taking APUSH and comparing it to what I took junior year, which was IB World, they were really sort of polar opposites in certain ways. APUSH was a lot more focused on you go home, you study a chapter of the textbook, you write down as many notes as you can, and you come to class with as many dates, names, and other pieces of information memorized. Whereas my experience in World was a lot more discussion based. It was still, you have to learn the information. It's not less rigorous to that extent, but it's actually applying the information to something, which I feel like for me was really the learning style that I was looking for, because I feel like in a lot of things, I've obviously had this issue in mathematics before where it's like, okay, well, why are we learning this? It's just, you're doing an equation. And I feel like IB has been a really great way to show me, well, this is why we're learning this information. And here's how you're applying it. It's not just memorize these 15 dates. It's memorize these 15 dates so that you can prove in a discussion why you might think something. And, I guess if you were having a debate or something, why your position might be right. So, yeah, I feel like that's the major difference between the two.
Kind of adding to that, we've done like IB assessments like of some sort, like from elementary school onward. Like it's always something that Shaker has integrated into the curriculum in some way, shape, or form. And from that and from my experience in the program, I've always felt like IB was more reason-based, like looking at how you got there and not just, is that the right answer? And similar to Ty, I took APUSH and it just like, it was a good class and I learned a lot and I enjoyed learning a lot about it because I enjoy history. But taking like world and Eurasia this year, it feels a lot more applicable to the real world and what we're learning about. And that goes for all DP courses. Like in any of my classes, there's a conversation at some point pretty often about where this knowledge is valuable outside of taking a test at the end of the year or outside of the classroom.
Thank you both. I don't see anything else in the chat, but it doesn't mean that there can't be. So I invite if there's any other questions that people have to go ahead and share. And again, if it's if you don't think of them now and you think of them later, please go ahead and add them to the Google form, or I will type into the chat. But it also was in the information that was sent home that led you to this link in the first place. My email address to please follow up with any questions that you may have. Oh, looks like how many students are in each cohort. So this year we have 55 or 56 in each of the junior and senior class. And so it's growing, right? It's the biggest number we've had so far, which is fantastic. There's a lot of interest around it. In addition to the diploma, to the full diploma students, though, we also have a handful of students, and we didn't talk about this in the presentation, that are doing what we call the medallion program, that are taking, oh, Miriam, correct me if I'm wrong, a minimum of 3 diploma program classes, and participating in CAS, and so and have an opportunity to earn what we call the DP medallion. And in addition, students always have the opportunity to take individual diploma program courses a la carte. So TOK is not an option right now for students who aren't enrolled in the full diploma program, but any of our other DP courses, students can take just one off if you're interested in it. Did anyone take Math 3 HL, and what does it cover? I don't know your schedules off the top of my head. Are any of you students in Math 3? Are you able to answer, Sonali, what the question is? What does it cover?
It covers a lot. Like the unit we covered in the beginning of the year was more algebra based, but it was a lot harder. I mean, you have to think more about what the question is asking you. You have to look at like the command terms, which is something you'll hear in IB a lot, where it's like different types of questions that require different thinking. And then we just learned about like imaginary numbers and complex numbers. And then right now we're on, but it'll keep going for a while and eventually get to calculus, which is what most of us learned last year or still learning right now. But it covers a wide range of things. And the questions, like the test questions, are usually real world like situations. Like I don't know, maybe Mia could elaborate more on it.
Yeah, I definitely agree with Sonali. I think that this course has been circling back to a lot of concepts that we covered earlier in our math education, but just applies and analyzes that knowledge differently with more practical situations.
Thanks. Any final questions before we let our students get back to their homework, or hopefully being able to relax for a little bit? All right, well, again, I want to thank all of you for coming tonight, for listening and hearing and giving your time to find out more about this program. I welcome any continued questions or participation, so please feel free to reach out if there's anything we didn't cover, anything you think of. Thank you so much to our teachers and our students who took their time tonight to share with you. It was not at all scripted. I mean, everything they said, I prompted them ahead with, I'm going to want you to jump in about TOK and about EE and about CAS, but what they said truly came from them and how they're feeling. And so we thank you guys very much for taking your time tonight and sharing such thoughtful information about the program. Thank you all. I'll hang on here for a little bit if anybody is sticking around to ask any questions one-on-one. And otherwise, have a great night. Thank you all for joining.
Thanks, everyone.
Thank you, Chuck.